Hello, Move Nation, and welcome to another episode of United We Move podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Beckner, and today my guest is Blair Meeks. Blair has been a member since November of 2013, so going on 7 years now, and he is a frequent attendee of the morning crew, so formerly 5:30 a.m., currently 6 a.m. class. And if you've ever met Blair, you know he just has a great energy, a great work ethic. He's fun to be around. He's a good motivator, so we love having him in the morning class. We, of course, talk about how Blair got started 7 years ago and what he was doing before for exercise and what exercise and fitness meant to him and currently mean to him. We talk about his time as a boxer before he joined the gym. He is the undefeated, undisputed champion. That is a great story. And we talk about his career. So he spent 20 years as a reporter. He has a journalism background, and he tells some great stories during that time and how he transitioned to a new career where he helps large organizations and institutions manage their public perception and their internal and external communications. I would like to say we had a little bit of trouble with the internet connection, and of course this is a Zoom interview, so please bear with us as the connection kind of goes in and out. Regardless, this was still a great conversation, and I really appreciate Blair taking the time out to talk with me. So please give it a listen, and please enjoy. I was looking through your Zen Planner profile we have on you, and I noticed that you joined the gym back in November of 2013. I mean, that's quite a long time, almost 7 years. And I'm curious, what it was like for you starting up back then.
Well, for me, it was an all new experience. I'd never been a weightlifter at all. I mean, I toyed around with it a little bit, but never seriously. And so everything about it was new, especially I've done pull-ups before, but all the aspects of weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting, all those kinds of things were completely new. So it was a very enlightening experience, and I really liked the educational aspect of learning the different movements and the proper way to do them. And I'd known a little bit about what the gym was about and what its mission was related to functional fitness, but never sort of read too much into what went into that. The three different aspects of cardio, gymnastics, and weightlifting. So it was completely new.
So what were you doing before that? Because I would remember seeing you during warm-ups doing some shadow boxing and stuff like that. So I figured you were, some sort of welterweight or something.
Right. I'd say probably 20 more years ago. Well, no, not quite that long ago, almost. So, I sort of made a commitment to making fitness part of my life, and have just gone through different phases. There was a running phase, and I did a triathlon, and half marathon. That's plenty of running, by the way. Half is all I'd ever. That's fine. Not going to do a marathon. And then I went in. I found this gym in Decatur Boxing Club, and I was doing a news story about a new NBC show, and I met the trainer there, and he was like, "Hey, you ought to come out sometime and work out." And I was just intrigued. I've never really been into a lot of the combat sports stuff, but boxing has always been a little bit of a passion of mine, watching. And so I went in there, tried it out. And again, it was a totally new experience there. I've never been in anything like it. And it was just the learning aspect was fascinating. And the way they trained was awesome. And, when you're in the gym for a little while, doing all this training, punching bags, you eventually want to try it out in the ring. So I did actually two sort of not truly amateur fights, but exhibition bouts against opponents that I did not know, which was a very scary endeavor. But it was real short thing, three 2-minute rounds. But it was it was a bit terrifying, but it was very enlivening, that's for sure. One one in particular was weird because I didn't know the guy at all. He was coming in from South Carolina into our gym. Never seen him before, or never, and it was just a funny situation. Your sort of heart jumps up into your throat. It's beating really hard, and the guy walks into the gym. He outweighs me by a good 40 or 50 pounds, but he's a little bit overweight. So, but he leans in. I'm trying to butter him up a little bit, trying to make him be nice to me or whatever. So I kind of go over, "Hey, how's it going? What's your name?" And he said, "People just call me Chainsaw."
Uh-huh.
So, okay, great. I'm going to jump in the ring with this guy. Good.
Nice.
It ended up being okay because I just, in that sport, if you can't move, you don't have much option. So I could move a lot better than him, and it ended up being, so my total boxing career of 2 exhibition fights, I'm 2-0. I'm undefeated.
Awesome. In those instances, were you guys wearing headgear and all that stuff, or?
Yeah, headgear and waist belts and bigger, puffier gloves, just heavier gloves. When you've got more padding around the glove, you can do less damage. So I think usually a boxer might use in a fight 14 ounce, and we were like using 24 ounce. So imagine 24 ounces on each hand,
Right.
It slows you down quite a bit, and there's a lot of cushion. So
Yeah.
you can still, get your bell rung, that's for sure.
Sure.
But it's less likely to do a tremendous damage.
Now, were you married at the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a conversation. And there was a lot of concern there. But we dealt with that. It was all good. She was supportive and was glad when it was over.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So you said that you were doing the boxing and you wanted to get into the ring. Well, what led you to decide to join the gym versus doing boxing?
So I liked the boxing. It was great. I mean, it's tremendous amount of cardio, but it's interval training in a way. It's based on 3-minute rounds, and a lot of things you do are 3 minutes at a time with a 1-minute break. Some other things you do, but not a ton. But like with weights, you might work out with a heavy a medicine ball, and you do some squats and things like that, but nothing with heavy weights. And the more I read about fitness, I just came to know that weightlifting was hugely important for fitness, especially as you get older. And since I'd never really done it, and it's interesting, I sort of stuck with the boxing thing. So I thought, well, maybe at this stage of my life, I'm a little more able to commit to things. So let me try some weightlifting a little bit. And I tried a trainer for a little while, and just that wasn't really my thing. And that's when I sort of read about and stumbled across what used to be East Decatur CrossFit, but what is now Move Functional Fitness. And, it just fit a lot of the things that I wanted to do. I knew that weightlifting, or came to know that weightlifting was very, very important and for overall health. And it does a lot of things for your mind and body, and the way you guys pair it with the stretching and the gymnastics, and so it's not just in there pumping iron.
Right.
It fit a lot of the things I was looking for.
So when you joined back in 2013, did you have any idea of what those CrossFit workouts would look like?
No. I had no. Well, I guess you get a general sense from seeing the show, seeing the CrossFit Games.
Right. How is it different than that, though?
Yeah. When you see, I guess when you see the games, you'd see movements strung together. That is a very, idealistic, sort of superhuman aspect of the workout, I guess.
Right.
But you see kind of how things are built, and that it's different aspects, but the intensity of the workouts are definitely the same. And even if you can't lift as much weight, the workouts are just as intense for somebody that lifts, 15 pounds as 150, if that's what they're working out with. So that's, I knew a little bit about it from the games, and I knew that there were different aspects, but it was high intensity, um, built with a lot of interval stuff. I didn't know much about the gymnastics or how much aerobic stuff you guys did,
Yeah.
but that was my learning about that.
Do you remember what your onboarding or your fundamentals looked like back then?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it was sort of very prescribed, I'd say, and going through the numbered movements and making sure you went through 1, 2, 3, starting position, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it was very, very structured. And even after going for a while and having done that several times, every time we started a movement, we would go through those same principles. And it was great because I needed that repetition. It's amazing. You think it'd be fairly simple, but man, learning to take what is coached and internalizing it, and then putting it together with what your body is doing while it's manipulating a heavy object, that it takes a lot. I pick up things fairly quickly, but it takes a while. It's very sophisticated to get the nuances right.
Yeah, and sometimes your body doesn't always want to do what your mind tells you, as I'm sure you know from boxing.
That's right. That's exactly right. Your mind wants to tell you to get out of there. Right. Actually, yes, absolutely. And it's thinking through things, and then it's also adding a little bit of speed there, because we do you do things for time, and you're pushing yourself. So it's learning. I had to learn a lot about, letting go of my ego a little bit, and understanding where my limitations were, so I wouldn't push too hard until I'd gotten the fundamentals right. And so there's a lot of balancing. It's interesting, same kind of thing. So in boxing, I always talk about one of the biggest lessons I learned there is self-control. You think boxing, you just go in there and try and tear somebody's head off, and the minute you start losing that really focused control on your body movements, and you extend yourself too far and try too hard, that's when you're out of balance, and then you can be taken advantage of, and you can really get hurt by getting too into it. You have to really stay in balance, under control, really focused. And the same applies to CrossFit and lifting. You can't just go so hard that you're out of control, and unless you're really the movements well, you have to kind of be really focused on what you're doing to make sure you're doing it right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think the more that you do both of those, you start to learn where your edge is and what your discomfort levels are, and what that's telling your brain versus what your body's actually doing.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
Other than kind of like the movement challenges of learning these new ways of exercise, what other challenges did you find early on in your CrossFit career?
I wasn't used to being as sore as I was after all of those exercises. I worked out a lot, but not to this level. I think I just didn't push myself in this way. So that was, getting used to that discomfort and going right back in the gym when you're feeling a little, well, not just a little, a lot sore, and working through that, and knowing that you can push yourself in those times. That was a big learning as well. Just kind of understanding that that's what you have to go through in certain times, and being okay with that and accepting that, and also knowing that that's bringing growth as well.
How do you think your experience has changed over the past 7 years? You've got to be somewhat more comfortable with the movements and probably know your own fitness levels a little bit better, but what has changed for you personally?
I think early on it was just what in the world am I getting myself into kind of thing, like what's going to happen, how am I going to, now you sort of understand how things work, and you're able to operate a little better. Like when you take something on that's so fresh and new, you don't really know. It's a little bit of the unknown, or at least for me it was, because I had never really done a lot of this before. So I'm sort of through that, and I know what to expect, and I'm able to really focus on the things I need to do and where I need to improve, and how I want to grow, and how and where to push myself, and when to hold back a little bit when bigger things are coming in a workout. So I think now I can make it more useful and be more productive. So I think I can make better progress and use it for the things I'm trying to achieve. Whereas before, I'm just trying to learn a whole new world.
Earlier, you'd mentioned that you made health and fitness commitment maybe 20 years ago. So why was that important to you then, and why is it important to you now?
It's interesting. I don't know that there was any specific thing that was going on in my life or something that happened. Fitness has always been in my family, playing basketball, a little bit of soccer, running from time to time, but it's never been something that I did regularly. And I think it's just a little bit about getting older and seeing, where I was and what I was paying attention to in my life at the time. I was out in Arizona at the time, doing the TV thing. And it's a hard lifestyle because I go in at, 1:30 and work until 10:30. And you're driving all over the place and not able to, I was trying to work out, but there came a time when I'm like, I got to get serious about this. And I don't know if there's any one particular thing that turned that for me, but it was just going through this and not feeling, probably the way I should, not being really as happy as I could be. And I knew I loved the workouts and I loved doing things, snowboarding, surfing, all these kinds of stuff. And I knew if I wanted to continue doing that, I needed to take care of myself in a better way so I'd still be active and able to do the things that I really like to do.
Yeah. So you were a reporter.
That's right.
Yeah. And I was reading you went to journalism school in Missouri. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So what drove you to that profession?
Well, that's an interesting thing too. I'm hugely curious. I think even today, I've had several different jobs, but I probably would always at my base think of myself as a reporter in some way. A reporter, what does a reporter do? They learn information, they tell people about it. It's almost like a teacher. And if you think of it the way that I do, I would find out information and then make it as succinct as possible and tell people about it. It was really cool. I loved my curiosity, and a lot of different things, drove me to that. But I never was a very good writer, which might sound strange, but I just had the patience for writing. Didn't necessarily, when I was younger, didn't realize writing, like a jump shot, you do it more, you get better at it. Right. Yeah. And I would want to get things right the first time. And, I'd be frustrated that what I wrote didn't really match with and everybody told me, if you want to be a journalist, you have to love to write. And so everybody's telling me that. I'm like, I don't love to write. I don't, at that point. So I didn't think that was for me, Mm-hmm. But then I took a part-time at a bureau in Atlanta, the news bureau, a weird convergence of events. I talked to a guy at my church about the profession, and he said, "Oh, you know what? This guy on the weekend needs some help. Why don't you come in?" And turning that into a little job. But I got to see more about what news was behind the scenes, and that sort of let me know, sort of turned me on to the other part of things that I just thought out where I wanted to go. Missouri's got a great journalism school, good education. It was a good time to do that. Had a lot of fun and met a lot of great people, a lot of interesting things, and it'll always be a value.
So do you have any interesting stories or any situations that you were in as a reporter that you can relay to us?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many. I think lots of, scariest moment in Arizona after a basketball game of all things. Gotta love those NCAA basketball. But in Tucson, it was Arizona was playing Duke, and you're on the West Coast time, so everything's later. So a lot of students had been in these bars in downtown Tucson since noon, and the game was at like 8 o'clock. So they've been drinking for 8 hours. So something is going to be up, right? So we go down there to cover the game, and I can't even remember right now if Arizona won or if Duke won. But anyway, they knew the year before there'd been some trouble down there. So they had a big police presence. Everybody was going to be great, doing good things. After the game was over, everybody poured out into this middle of the streets. And at that moment, all the police that had been there left to go put on riot gear. So it was like, if you just stayed, we might not have had this happen. But everybody leaves, and all of a sudden, all the guys that out, and then they start turning over cars. Then they start breaking in, bashing in storefront windows, and things start. Then the police in their riot gear start coming down the street, and we had set up our live shot at about a block away from that main intersection. So as soon as all those students came running right past us, and there we are, me and the sports guy, at nighttime, connected by wires to a live truck with lights pointing in our faces, and hundreds and hundreds of drunk students running past us, tripping over our wires. And a guy, I'm live on the air, and a guy grabs me around the shoulders, looks into the camera, and says, "We're all going to hell." I have to elbow him out of the way. I didn't think I was going to get hurt, but it was when people are that amped up and you don't know what they're going to do, it's hard to make good decisions. So we just got out. That was probably the scarier moment. Another big moment. I covered the verdict, O.J. Simpson trial. I was in L.A. when that was read. That was pretty crazy moment. That's probably the biggest I was ever a part of. I had another fun thing early in my career. It was even a more fun deal. I was what's called my title was the Brunswick Bureau Chief. As I was working for WTOC in Savannah, and I was the only member of that bureau. And so I would shoot all my own stuff and edit all my own material. And I lived in Brunswick, and I drive back and forth to Savannah every day to put my stories together. But because I was like the only TV representative in town, I had, people knew me. And I made friends with the guy who ran mosquito control, and he had the keys to the helicopter. So there was a big story about a bridge they were trying to replace down there because there was an accident in which some people died. The drawbridge didn't work. It wasn't big enough for the ships that were going through there. So when I had to do that story, I called up my buddy in the mosquito control, and here I am, just this, 23-year-old journalism kid, and I get him to pick me up in the helicopter, and we go shoot pictures of the bridge. We fly all the different angles, and then I got another friend of mine ran the pilot boats, which are the ones that sort of guide the ships in and out of the harbor, and I got him to get me on that same day. The pilot drops me off on a dock. I run from the dock and get on a big giant ship that goes through under the new the drawbridge that's so narrow. I got to shoot pictures of that, and then giant 400-foot ship. We got through the channel. They threw an 11-story ladder off the side of the ship. I had to climb down that ladder and jump onto a pilot boat to get back to the shore and go put the story together. And so I get back to the station, and I've got helicopter footage, and I've got shots on the ship, and everybody's like, how did you get all this stuff? Who'd you get this from? Like, man, I'm the Brunswick Bureau Chief. Are you kidding me? You got to have the contacts. But it was funny. They used that footage for years and years after that. But it was like that was kind of fun challenges you have to overcome, and I had the freedom to do. So it was interesting. It led to some interesting things. But that was a cool story.
After your reporting days, you moved on into maybe another direction. I don't know. But what is it you're currently doing, or what have you been doing for the last few years?
Yeah, so from reporting, I went to an agency, marketing communications agency called Jackson Spalding, and sort of took what I knew about media and how to handle media and helped businesses out with that, which is a totally different view, sort of the other side of the equation. Sort of, I knew a lot about what what people in the news would ask you. And then I went into helping people who are answering those questions from members of the news media, and how best to answer you really want, and how you can put your best foot forward in those situations, and help companies in crisis, basically, how to manage those. Really, one of their first principles is we tell the truth, which is great. You always hear, PR spin and things like that. And, it was refreshing to work with a company whose number one priority at all times was telling the truth, which is great.
Yeah.
So that fit with what I wanted to do as well. So did that for a while. And now I'm at Georgia Tech, helping them with external communication. So basically anything that Georgia Tech wants to communicate outside the institute, which is, a lot of media stuff and a lot of social media. And so I'm, again, some of the same skills, but a different audience, I guess I'm pushing toward, and a different goal. But I love it because, it's certainly a product I can believe in. Higher education, technology, it's a huge passion point of mine, and it's great to be able to be helping an institution like this get its word out in the best way possible.
Yeah. We are a small business, and during all of 2020, we are faced with various challenges, and whether it's with COVID or the Black Lives Matter movement, or things that CrossFit HQ are saying, and we're having to navigate our image and our responses, and we're just a small business. So what is that stress like for you, on such a large level? Georgia Tech is obviously a huge institution, and like you said, your audience, is maybe specific to your students, but it's also, it represents a lot for the state of Georgia and the region even. So what is it like for you to navigate all of these challenges right now?
Yeah, it really is. It's been amazing to see that work, and I compliment you guys. I sent you a note too about how well you guys have done in communicating about things to your audiences, and that's the main thing. It's like, anything can seem daunting, when you look at the huge picture, but then when you break it down to smaller parts and what you're really focused on, it becomes much more manageable. And so it is a big entity. There's a lot riding on things, but at the same time, everybody in it is pushing for good things. There can be missteps you have to communicate around, but the overall goal, and everybody's pushing for good stuff to happen. It's just a matter of making sure you're getting that message out. And there are massive changes that have to be gone through right now, and decisions have to be made that affect so many people. It's just and everybody has a different opinion about what should be done, and satisfying all those audiences is impossible. So really you have to stick with what you're able to say, be firm in it, and be very clear, and communicate it a lot. That's be consistent, to always tell the truth, and communicate it as many times as you can, so people understand exactly what you're going through, what they're going to be facing, and just break it up into little pieces and make sure you're communicating clearly, and you'll get through it. It's tough, but it's it just takes some dedication, some good old grit, like one of your CrossFit workouts, and you just keep grinding away, and sooner or later it'll be over for at least a little while, I hope.
Obviously, that job can be kind of stressful right now. So what makes you get up every morning and show up to the 6 a.m. class?
Oh man, I love it, because you're right. It is hugely stressful. There are times, where my brain is on, and I'm thinking strategically and being super cautious with every single, letter I put on an email, and, really painstaking detail with all kinds of stuff, and very, high stakes communication. And it's good is it great to get in the gym and relieve some stress and burn through some frustrations, or burn off energy, or just get pumped up again by a really good hard workout. I am a little bit more comfortable in the gym, so I can really focus on working very hard. And anything paired with running, you kind of know, are my favorites probably.
Yeah.
So when that happens, I know I can really, really crush it. And so those are particularly fun for me. But even ones I'm not so comfortable with that are hard, like snatches or I like those because they are hard, and it makes me concentrate on something completely different than my everyday. I can't concentrate on work if I'm, doing I have to concentrate on what I'm doing. And that's great to sort of leave all the other stuff behind and just focus on what's right in front of me. So, and that it's very, very freeing, and you feel great. I always feel really, really, really good after, even if I'm tired and sore. It's just, it's a great feeling to wear yourself out like that. And it gets you through a lot.
In my previous podcast with Matt, we were talking about memorable moments, and I didn't really have any specific ones exactly, but I'm just reminded now that I'm talking to you, I feel really good every time that you leave the gym and you tell me that was a great workout. And it's you specifically, because you do that more than most people do. You say that was a great one, and so I really appreciate you saying those. And they're typically after double unders or rope climbs when we were doing.
That's right. Yeah. Something that I'm good at, actually. So yeah. No, I do, and I do appreciate it. There are some that I just seem to fit better. There's just some that stand out to me about testing me in different ways. Usually they're I don't tell you good workout after something that's easy, I don't think. I don't know that I've ever, it's usually something that's it's challenging, but it might fit my particular body style better or something. I don't know what it is, but somehow they just, it feels like it's many times it's a sense of accomplishment, and it's also just how much it stressed me in the right way, and how maybe it's just the mood I'm in, but some of it is I feel like it really hit on a lot of cylinders.
Yeah. So what moments stand out to you from your time with Move?
Being able to overhead squat for some reason. I mean, that was one of the hardest things. I think it was one of the most frustrating things at the beginning, to feel so completely unable to do something that I should have been able to do. Like it's part of it is just, your flexibility and technique and all these kinds of things, but not being able to overhead squat the 45-pound bar, is ridiculous, because you can squat more than 45 pounds, but something about how you hold it and not being able to push it far back enough. And, I remember that was just, I was frustrated with myself for not being able to do it at the beginning, and then gradually, as I got more flexible and learned how to hold it, and, then being able to drive a little bit more weight, and then getting up to, 100, 110, I felt like that was just a significant achievement. Like that is really, I know that's a big change about myself, and I love seeing that. I don't know if it was an exact moment when that happened, but it sort of gradually started happening, and that was, but I can remember distinctly that being a really frustrating challenge, like trying to go down in the squat and the bar falls forward, and, you feel like, oh my gosh, why can't I do this? And then gradually getting to the point where, oh, I got this. And then adding more weight. It was a good experience to go through. So that's fairly memorable.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what's the one, another big memorable one is, I don't know the name of this workout, but, it's where you run 400 meters and then come back and do as many pull-ups as you can do.
Yeah, Nicole.
Nicole, yeah. I think we've done that several times, and I did it the first time and was a little reserved, and the second time, I got close to 100 pull-ups, I think, or something like that. It was really close, but I was really, it was man, that was a great one, and I look forward to that, because I know the harder I push myself on the run, the more chance I have at doing more pull-ups. So it's a very, very hard workout, and I do well on it. So the second time around, when I got, I think it was more than 80, not all the way to 100, but more than 80 pull-ups on that thing was really an achievement for me. So I can remember doing that and just feeling like, whoa, I hated myself the next couple of days
Oh,
before my
absolutely.
shoulders did. But I felt really great afterwards. That's for sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. That's one I'm not sure I'm going to program again.
Right, right. I know we haven't done it much. Maybe once or twice. I think I've done it twice, maybe 3 times. I don't know, but it's that was a toughie.
Yeah, I think I've done that one 5 or 6 times, and I it takes me a week or two to recover from it. So, yeah, pretty
Yeah,
brutal on the biceps.
absolutely.
So you don't live very close to the gym.
No, I don't. And but I used to. I was in Decatur, and then we moved out to Lilburn, so out near Stone Mountain, and that's where we're living now. But we'll probably move back to Decatur within a year. The whole
Oh,
plan
okay.
was move out and move back when it's time to go to Decatur. So we've had the couple kids. Now it's time to now it's time to see if we can move back into Decatur.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting, but I was going to ask you about, you live you live near other CrossFit gyms, and that's a long distance to travel just to
Yes.
come to a 6 a.m. workout, or previously a 5:30 a.m. workout even. And even if it is on your way to work, why choose move over choosing the local CrossFit gym right down the street from you?
Well, I did go down there. There's actually one probably. It's funny. Right down the street, one opened up. Is maybe 500 yards from the driveway to the gym is 500 yards from my house.
Yeah.
And I went down there. I've gone down there twice. Once I went down on a weekend, and honestly, it was such a different experience as far as instruction goes. And I just saw some things going on there that I wasn't really comfortable with.
Hmm.
People lifting the wrong way and nobody saying anything. And I just, I didn't, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So and I know I like all you guys, and I've made friends there and feel comfortable in the gym. And I know, not that there are bad people at this gym down the street. I just think the priorities might be just a little bit different, or maybe I just got a coach on a day that he was having a bad day.
Right.
But the time I went there wasn't the best. So the other time I went there, I didn't go to work out. I just went to visit, and they were nice enough, but I just didn't get the same feeling, even though it would be convenient. So that's why I make the drive. It's worth it. I like what you guys do. I like the people there. The schedule fits my timing really well, and I've been consistent, and it's hard to argue with that. If I really want to
Sure.
go and still really want to go, I don't change it up too much, because then you may not go.
You've brought your wife to a few community events and community workouts, and she's not a member, but when you talk about our community to your wife or to your friends and family, how do you describe it?
It really is that there's a bonding that goes on there. I mean, we're putting ourselves through some difficult things together, but
Yeah.
there's a group thing about it, like so you build bonds that are pretty strong like that. And there's competition there as well, which is good, and but it's so friendly and so supportive as well. That's what I talk about. Like it's I'm not the strongest or the fastest by a long ways, but I don't think I'm judged for that, or I think people understand I'm pushing myself pretty hard. I like that there's very judgment free, and that's good. Not that I pay a ton of attention to that, where that could possibly be a thing, but it's not in our gym, and that's one of the things that I like about it a lot. My wife likes, when I come and talk about it, how excited I am about the different workouts, and it's like, oh, you won't believe what we did today. Oh yeah, tell me about it. Oh, we did this and this. She has her own thing. We actually met boxing, so
Oh,
at the boxing gym. So
awesome.
yeah. So she has continued in the boxing vein and just really likes that. So it's one of those things that she keeps going. I talked to her about coming to our gym, and she's come a couple of times, but she's the weights and keeping her hands nice and soft don't go together. So
Oh, awesome, man. Well, I know you've probably got some stuff to get back to for work, but is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation?
No, I just really appreciate what you guys have put together and the way you go about things. Good communicators. You seem to do things all in the right spirit, and that sets up a good atmosphere for learning and achieving, and meeting people where they are is hugely important in life. And I think doing that in the gym is what makes it has a tremendous value as well. And wherever people are, taking them up to another step in their evolution is, that's what life is all about, helping people along the way, helping people achieve it. And I sense that in all of you at the gym, and I really appreciate it. And it's a great opportunity to get to work with you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out, and I'll see you at a 6 a.m. class soon.
Exactly. Bright and early. See you then.
Yep. All right. Thanks, man.